Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. In today's video, I want to talk about the recent FNCS Grand Finals on NA Central that happened this past weekend. This Grand was full of some of the craziest controversies I've ever seen, some of the most unexpected moments and unexpected teams in the top 10, and some of the craziest script writing I have ever seen. So let's get right into that top 10. In first place overall, we have Peterbot, Code, and Ritual with 1 win, 842 total points, and they earned $180,000. Of course, pretty much everyone expected this, including me, as I had them first in my predictions, so this was no surprise to me. However, I was surprised by just how close this Grants actually was. Peter was obviously landing in that whole Crime City area. They were taking all of the train, the Dobit farm, and those houses to the north, so they definitely had the best loot on the map pretty much every single game, which of course definitely helped them. But that's not to take away from the absolute clinic that they put on in this Grants. Of course, only with one game win, it seems they weren't as dominant as they normally are, but they still proved that they are the best team in the region, as they have proved time and time again. This is Peterbot's 5th FNCS win, Cold's 3rd, and this is actually Ritual's 1st FNCS win, so super happy for him and the rest of the team as well. In second place overall, we have Clix, Higgs, and Yamzo with 3 victory royales, 831 total points, and $76,500 earned. This is Clix's best Grants placement ever, and honestly, I feel like they really proved themselves as Grants. I had doubted them in my predictions quite a bit, putting them in 6th place, not even in a land call spot, which obviously I clearly regret at this point. They won 3 games, which is insane at this high level, and they were really pushing for first all weekend long, taking first place away from Peterbot at multiple moments of the tournament. I felt like they were right there until the very last moment when they killed Peter, but they were not able to get in the zone and were wiped by the storm before they were able to get in. They were only 11 points behind Peter, which is just so close, and it really felt like this was going to be anyone's game until the very end. They just barely fell short, but it was still an incredible performance that solidifies Clix, Higgs, and Yamzo as one of the top trios on the region going into the LAN. In 3rd place, we have Curly, Cooper, and Reed with 1 win, 682 points, and $51,000 earned. This trio also pretty quietly put together a great weekend. They weren't the flashiest team out there, and obviously with the majority of the zones pulling north, they were definitely helped a lot by that, but their placements were still very strong, and when they needed a big game, they always got it. Cooper and Ree have been around a lot longer than Curly, but Curly has been absolutely frying recently. He's one of the most underrated players in the region, and this step up today was a huge part of their win. They were quite a bit off from Clix's team and Peter's team, about 150 points behind, but obviously earning that land claw spot and over $50,000 as a trio, especially considering they formed about 2 weeks before Grants, this was really great from them. Of course, I doubted them in my prediction. I think I put them around 8th or 9th, which obviously I regret now once again. My predictions were pretty terrible, but seeing them in 3rd, not what I've expected, but they did really good. In 4th place, another team that I did not expect to be this high. We have Braids, Visuals, and Aminish with 1 win, 680 points, and $35,700 earned. This team was definitely one of the surprises for me personally. They played really good Fortnite across both days. They took advantage of Peterbot surge trading pretty much with them every single game. Their rotates were incredibly smart, which is one of the advantages of having that middle map POI. They took some great fights, and they stayed alive deep into so many of these end games. They were only 3 points behind Curly's team as well, which just shows how competitive this Grants was as a whole. This was definitely a breakout for all 3 of these players, and I'm really happy to see what they can do going forward. In 5th place, obviously very behind where we would have thought they would be, we have Acorn, Agers, and Poyo with 1 win, 638 points, and $28,000 earned. Obviously, Acorn and Agers are 2 of the most experienced players in the entire region, and Poyo has fit this team perfectly in the previous season. They had some definitely very strong moments, including that win in game, I think it was 3 or maybe 1, but they weren't quite enough to get into that top 4 position, top 3 position. Obviously, they are landing Max Meadows, which definitely was not an advantage in this tournament, as pretty much every single zone on day 1 pulled into Magic Mosses, and most of the zones, except for 2 of them, pulled fully towards the north side of the map. This is another great FNCS from them still, placing in 5th place with all the disadvantages they had, especially with the vibes on this trio may not being that good. This is still very good from them. In 6th place, we had Rapid, Booga, and Threats. They had 2 wins, 612 points, and $20,400 earned. This trio definitely had some very high highs. Obviously, landing uncontested Seaport gives them a ton of advantages over many other trios. Winning 2 games in Grants, once again, not very easy. I think they won game 1 as well. They got momentum, they were rolling strong the entire time, and obviously they were only a couple points out of a global championship qualification, only 24 points, 26 points. And with a couple of mid games that just slipped away from them, they could have easily been in the top 3 conversations. Bugha still showing that he's consistent, 5 or 6 years later after the World Cup. So really glad to see them placing in the top 6. In 7th place overall, we had Clix, Sphinx, and Bolts with 1 win, 593 points, and $20,400 earned. Canada's team was one of the most aggressive teams we had in this tournament, placing 4th in elims. They were landing hopeful heights, obviously super affected by every single zone pulling north. They were not afraid to take fights in Kappa early, and have still made a lot of deep runs in games where they really shouldn't have been making deep runs. Their win was super clean in the last game. When they get zone and have space to work, they can definitely beat anyone. I'm really looking to see what they do in future seasons if they choose to stick together. I assume even with Canada's drop being completely nuked by the Star Wars season, it should be interesting to see if they stick together. Of course, with both rapid Bugha threats, Canada Sphinx and Bolts, and another tier we're going to get into 8th, all not qualifying land. I'm expecting some teammate shakeups, but we will see what happens. In 8th place overall, we had Muzz, Yapko, and Rise with 1 victory royale, 572 points, and $20,400 earned. Muzz obviously is a huge name, and this trio showed flashes of brilliance. They had a bit of inconsistency throughout all the games. Rise, obviously a great IGL, but he was able to keep them going into this 8th place. Muzz was making some great solo clutch plays as well. I know this trio has currently been split already. I know Yapko is actually moving back to EU, so we'll see what Muzz and Rise do if they choose to get together or not. Obviously, with Uncon Shiny, it was a nerf the day before Grands, but that shouldn't have really affected them that much, and I'm surprised that they see that they did not qual into the LAN. In 9th place overall, we had Tyler, Shadow, and Curve, who I had actually predicted in 5th. They had no wins, 542 points, and they earned $20,000 as well. Even though they didn't win a game, their consistency was super solid considering they were not landing at an OP drop spot. They kept sneaking into late games and racking up points little by little. It's one of those performances that may fly under the radar, but making top 10 without winning a game in Grands, especially without their drop spot being that good, and these players being young players that are not really considered tier 1s. I'm really surprised. I was really happy that they placed so well. I had them predicted a lot higher, but I'm glad we still got to see them in the top 10. And finally, in 10th place overall, we had Eshu, Taki, and Vert with no wins, 448 points, and 20,000 earned. This is another team that just stayed super steady throughout the tournament. This was Eshu and Taki's first Grands, and Vert's 15th Grands. So it was very interesting to see the dynamic look at that, and Vert kind of keep this team on track. And a top 10 finish in their first Grand for Eshu and Taki is very, very, very high accomplishment from them. Overall, this is definitely one of my favorite Grands to watch, despite the controversies. Obviously, we had many controversies, including the big main one, which was the surge trading. Now, across all the map, especially in the south area between Seaport, Mass Meadows, and Hopeful Heights, we had huge surge trading bases, tons of collusion, and just a complete mess. We had Bucky's trio, Kanada's trio, Acorn's trio, and Bugha's trio all trading down there, along with a Kappa team if they were able to make it out quickly. Up in the north, we had Clix, Diminished, and Peter all trading with each other. Vert obviously joining in that as well. So it was just kind of insane to me that this was all allowed the entire tournament, and I feel like this would have made Grands a lot more interesting if this wasn't happening. Of course, there are not many fixes that people can think of off the top of their head, but one I would go with is to remove all of the heals from the black market and to decrease the blob spawns. I think that would make it so much better in terms of surge trading if there are just less heals overall, and that would pretty much bring us to the heals that we had in the previous season without black market. And I think doing all that would make this so much of an entertaining Grands, but it was still great Grands despite all of that. We also had Peterbot maybe being fed points by the last place team, and so that was kind of interesting, which is another controversy, but I still think Peter deserved this Grands win no matter what anyone says. If you did not know, there is no Grands next season, which is kind of annoying, but it's the mini Star Wars season, so not much we can do. But after that, we will see FNCS back again. I just want to thank you guys for watching. This video I got out pretty quickly after Grands, I think, and I'm going to try to do this more often. Let me know if I missed anything that you guys wanted to talk about. I think I also want to talk about some of the other trios who did not place as well and could have been in the top 10, including Craze, who was contested, won 11, won off spawn, but just missed out in the top 10. We had Bucky's trio all the way in the south of the map, also not succeeded to do very well because of the north zones. And we had 20's trio, placing around 20th place with an Uncon POI, which I did not expect coming out of them. That's it just for today. I want to appreciate you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video to talk about more of the post-FNCS drama, including splitting and all the drama that happened during the FNCS. Bye.